You're listening to the Wonder Women of Aviation, a podcast that helps preserve the history of women in aviation and highlights women involved in aviation.
Welcome to the Wonder Woman of Aviation, Season 2. I don't know what episode. I'm just kind of going with it. Today we have Carolyn McGlynn, aka 1happyfitflygirl on Instagram. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Natalia.
Well, thank you for taking the time. So, I wanted to try something different. We were talking a little bit earlier, and obviously you are involved in aviation, but I want to let our viewers know exactly what specifically, got you involved in aviation, what exactly you do, what introduced you into aviation, and who and what you are.
Okay, so my introduction into aviation was kind of a fluke thing. I was 18 years old, living in Guam. I was going to university, and I accompanied a girlfriend of mine to an interview for Continental Micronesia that operated out in the Pacific as an airline, a subsidiary of Continental Airlines. And she was going for an interview for a ticket agent and said, would you like to come along? And then we're going to go to the store afterwards. I said, yeah, I'll come along with you. So I accompanied her into the airport to the interview. And along the way, we met one of the supervisors doing her interview. And he looked at me and said, hey, do you need a part-time job? And I said, why not? Okay. So at 18 years old, I started as a ticket agent. And at the same time, my older sister started in-flight as a flight attendant. So we're just a couple months apart. And then, as I was going to school, doing my part-time job as a ticket agent, my sister started flying around the world and coming home, telling me of her tales of going to Tokyo and Honolulu. And even as a ticket agent, I know we have the same benefits, but she was coming home every week with fun stories. So finally, when I turned 21, I applied for in-flight and I started flying. And that was, I'm in my 30th year now in the airline industry. So from Continental Micronesia, I transferred over in 1998 to Continental Airlines. Eventually, as you know, United and Continental merged, and here we are. I'm now based in San Francisco, and it's been a ride to say the least.
I can only imagine, those of you that don't know her, follow her on Instagram. She's got some amazing pictures and beautiful, stories of places she's been to. So you've been traveling for quite some time, which is really, really fun, but also really challenging, right? To constantly be on the road, to constantly, interact with different individuals. Especially,
challenging. Yes. And also, I raised two children in my career as 30 years of my career. They're now 28 and 25. So they've been in aviation. Known, mom coming home with her luggage and this and that, stories of this and that, so yeah, ended up hearing a lot of fun stories.
So what would you say would be the highlight of your career? One story that resonates with you the most, or even a place or along your travels that this is most memorable? And
well, there's been so many, but I have to say one that really, immediately stands out is a letter that I had received from my supervisor from a customer, she and her family. And I'll never forget because, it's, that Maya Angelou saying that, people will forget or how does it go? We'll never forget
what you said, but not what you did, or something like that. That one.
Yeah. But they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So that's the gist of it. I know I should have that written down somewhere. Yeah. But so I received this letter, and it was a beautiful card, very brief, but it had mentioned something along the lines of, dear Carolyn, thank you so much for, taking care of me, my husband, and my children on our recent flight. And I thought, wow, this, it was actually a year that I had not received this letter. I don't know how it got lost in the mail or, whatever happened to it, but it was a year later that I received this card. And it said, thank you for taking care of me, my husband, my children. We were on our way to Seattle, and it was my husband's last flight because he was ill with cancer. And then eventually, not too long after, he passed away. And she said, just thank you so much for being one of those angels, on our flights. You were one of the many angels along the way that led him to his last flight.
Oh.
And I still have that card. It means the world to me. It's such a great reminder that not everyone that is traveling is on vacation.
Yeah.
And that kind of happens to me. It's kind of a theme whenever I'm commuting to work or going home or just traveling in general. I'll often sit next to someone who's got a story, and you'll think that, they're having fun. He's listening to his music, and he's just tapping his armrest the whole way. And I was like, okay, well, I'm trying to sleep now. And then, finally we're on our final approach, and he takes off his music and starts chatting with me and says, so are you home now? I said, yes, I'm home. And how about you? Mr. Music tapping away the whole flight. He says, I'm here for my dad's funeral, and I haven't seen him in 10 years. And so this is really bittersweet. So just another reminder of like, whoa, you think someone is one way, but inside there's a whole nother story going on that we don't know about. So yeah. I always keep that in mind when I'm working, when I'm traveling. It's just that not everyone's on vacation. And if you can remember that, I think your perspective on how you treat everyone just becomes a little more real,
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Because even, I'm a customer service supervisor. You encounter individuals that are either going through something, going to a wedding, a funeral. Like there's just so many different personalities that you meet at the airport, which is a question that I had for you. Like, what is, I guess you probably just described it, like the most favorite part of your job, being a flight attendant. Like why you said you like to travel, but there's also that human component behind it. Like, what do you love most about your job?
Well, this is the customer service industry. And, the great side note is that, we do travel for our job. We do have the benefit of, free, if not reduced travel rates on other airlines as well. So that's great. But really, I feel like when I go to work and I put that uniform on, just like when I put on my outfit to teach a Zumba class, as I'm a Zumba instructor also, it's like you're changing into this uniform, right? And you're putting on your Wonder Woman persona and you're fully committing to that role. And so I feel like when I put on that uniform and I put my hair back and I walk out the door and I'm in the public eye, it's like you're on. And it's just, I'm a people person. I love dealing with people. I love trying to help solve problems. I love trying to make their flight as comfortable and as enjoyable as I possibly can, given, our resources. So that's huge for me. And travel is a huge, bonus for sure.
Right. And I can definitely tell based on just your images, your Instagram, you are one happy girl. I was just like, oh my gosh, you're constantly smiling. You're full of positivity, which I absolutely love, which draws people towards you. And you briefly mentioned Zumba. So I want to talk a little bit more about traveling. And for me, a big part of my life is fitness. It literally changed my life, my mind, body, and soul. How, do you incorporate fitness into travel? Because it's easy to just be like, okay, I'm tired. I'm just going to go grab a burger, or McDonald's or all over the airport, Starbucks, So first, if you can talk about like staying fit on the road, like what do you do as a flight attendant to stay, obviously you look great, to stay fit and focused?
Well, for sure, during 30 years of my career, it wasn't always the case, and you get into your hotel late at night and you're starving and, you look at that room service menu and you really don't want to pick a salad because you think your stomach is not, you're not going to be happy with that. But as I've gotten older, I'll be 49 next month. Thank you. I've definitely noticed a huge difference when I take care of myself, and myself meaning, like you said, mind, body, and soul. I think the happiest people have gone through maybe, the toughest times. From my experience, just when you're super happy, I don't think you can be on 100% all the time. And as you know, Instagram is our highlight reel. But, the truth of the matter is, mental health is so important. So, you really need to make sure that you are feeding your mind things that will keep you positive, things that won't make you feel like you're not enough, or, oh my gosh, she looks way better than I do. She looks more fit than I do. She looks happier than I do.
Right.
People just need to make sure that we recognize that Instagram is not real. And even though we post, our highlight reels and when it's not a competition.
Yeah.
So you have to remind yourself of that. You're not competing against, all these people that have all these followers, just, you can't beat yourself up for that. And I know that's difficult. I know that's so difficult because you feel like, sometimes I even feel like, am I posting enough, or is anybody going to relate to this? And I feel like,
Yeah.
And I remember like, okay, well, why am I doing this? I'm doing this for me because I feel like, this is what I want my audience to know today, to feel today, to just bring a smile to their face. I've lost both my parents, my mom very early on when she was only 50 years old. So I think that in itself really helped shape me to become the person that I am today, the mother that I am, because I'm very family focused. And on my Instagram, I definitely like to keep my family life private because I feel that that's respectful towards them.
Yeah.
And it's just a piece of me that I keep, close to my heart, that I don't feel, the need to share openly with everyone. That said, family is super important. So my family keeps me grounded. So mentally, if I need a mental check, I'll check in with my husband, I'll check in with my sister, like, okay. And they're like, okay, don't beat yourself up. You're doing great. I said, okay, keep going.
Yeah.
But you need to allow yourself those downtimes, and you need to have a support group to go to, so that your mental checks are there.
Right.
Physically, on the road, definitely it helps to pack your own healthy snacks so that to lessen the temptation of running into Starbucks for that big old loaded muffin or, that scone that was so tempting. Drink lots of water. I mean, I know that's common knowledge, but I'm not a big fan of just drinking plain old water, but I know I have to do it. It's just good for our organs. It's just good to stay hydrated, especially in the airplanes, for as long as we can be. So just bring your mug, fill it up at the airport. They have, lots of airports have those refillable water stations that you can do, so you don't have to constantly buy water. So I look for that. As soon as I get through TSA, I look to fill up my water bottle. And if there isn't one, then I'll go and buy a big water bottle because, if you're traveling and sometimes maybe the flight's turbulent and you're waiting for a glass of water and the flight attendants can't get up for, however long. Sometimes it's only 10 minutes. Sometimes it could be a whole hour that it's super turbulent, depending on, the weather and thunderstorms in the area. So you may not get your cup of water for an hour. Right. So I always feel like, the more prepared you are on your own, bringing your healthy snacks, the easier it is for you to maintain just, keeping, those healthy options available to you.
Okay. Which I guess the second question I have to that is, you're getting ready for a trip, you're getting your bag ready. What are your go-to snack items that you pack or must-have items?
Okay. Must-have items. I always pack green tea, which is easy, slim green tea. I have almonds. I always have like a little dessert, like a little like chocolate covered blueberries or something like that. So, because, I do have a sweet tooth. So, so I'll always have some kind of chocolate with me. Just easy, they have those little snack packs with the nuts and sunflower seeds, things like that. I think I buy them in bulk at Costco. So I'll just throw a couple in my bag. And so when I'm getting hungry and maybe, the cart has already passed, I've been asleep, I just bust out that little bag and I start snacking. So those are a couple favorite ones.
Okay,
I used to pack like seaweed, but then, sometimes it gets stuck in your teeth.
Yeah, then you breathe.
And then you look like you're missing a tooth. So no under
No seaweed. Hear that every
unless you've got that mirror, like you can pick your teeth, but.
So it is possible to stay and make healthy choices on the road. Obviously, like I'm hearing just water, I'm hearing just snacks. I try to do that because my husband is an air show pilot, and we travel a lot. We go to like little towns that only have fried food options that are not very healthy. So I'm like you, I pack my nuts, my little snack bars, my little protein bars. Sometimes I'll just apples. So it is possible to stay fit on the road. Which leads into Zumba. I'd like to learn more about, your Zumba, I guess, story. I absolutely love Zumba. Like I love fitness. I love, hardcore. I do weights, I do weightlifting, I do boxing, but Zumba for me is like my happy workout. Like,
oh my gosh. It's so true. It's my happy place. And I became an instructor in 2004. I live in Naples, Florida, and I had been taking a class from a now very good friend of mine. And it was a very big class. And so several of the ladies that were dancing behind me had approached me several times and said, sometimes when it gets too crowded, we'll follow you because we can't really see her. So I said, oh, well, thanks. And so eventually I heard enough of that I said, you know what, maybe I'll try becoming an instructor. And so, I live in Florida, and, the Zumba was born in Miami. So I went over and had my instructor training. And then I didn't teach right away because of my flight schedule. It's hard to commit to teaching a class, saying, oh, I'm going to be here Monday, Wednesday, Friday when, I'm up in the air. And so I didn't really want to commit. So I substituted classes here and there. And then eventually it became, particularly on my flight from San Fran to Singapore, there's a nice little gym there. And right outside, there's this open area space. And, I thought, wow, this would be a great place to teach Zumba. So I started bringing my portable speaker and asked my crew and said, does anybody want to take a Zumba class from me? And then, I get like a couple hands here and there. So it was, sometimes I've had even just one person, but then I've had up to, I want to say 8 of my crew members. We would land into Singapore from San Fran. That's 16 hours plus. Get there and somehow, you get your third wind, right? And then I'd say, okay, meet me downstairs in half an hour and I'll teach a Zumba class. So sure enough, they'd come and meet and we'd have a great time. And word got out. And then sometimes crew members who'd see me on the flight would say, hey, are you teaching Zumba today? So I said, well, I have to scout the hotel and see if there's a space in the gym area. Sometimes they have a little yoga room that they're not using. And so it just kind of grew from there. And then eventually it grew into like these little dance numbers that I would teach some of the crew members, and I'd film it just to say, look how fun this is. And then it just kind of caught on, and it's on my Instagram page as well. Some of the little dance numbers I've done with my crew.
I've seen it. I was like, I think I saw you maybe when I started with the company 3 years ago. I'm like, she is amazing. I'm going to meet her. I'm going to talk to her and take a class with her.
So. Thank you. And in the beauty of that is those little dance numbers have been literally rehearsed maybe 2 times because they're such simple movements. Right. And I'll say, okay, follow me, and you just watch my feet. 2 times we'll do the rehearsal, and then we'll film. And that's all. We'll never do like a second, okay, take 2, because it's kind of, being in the moment, being authentic, and just, if you flub, you flub, because, that's the beauty of Zumba. It's that there's no perfect, it's about dance fitness, but it's not about being perfect when you dance. This is not like 5, 6, 7, 8.
It's about moving, getting the blood flowing.
Exactly. And the beauty of it also is that It's for everyone. It doesn't matter what your dance background, if you have no dance background, how old you are, how fit or unfit you are. And when they get the moves and they see how simple it can be, it kind of like, sometimes plants a seed in there. Like, maybe when I get home, I'm going to check out a Zumba class. This doesn't look so hard.
Right.
Yeah. So Zumba's for everybody.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely. I was a little bit embarrassed at first, but then I'm like, whatever, I'm having fun. Nobody's looking. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, nobody's watching you. Everybody's watching the instructor, just trying to learn the moves.
Yeah. You can burn up to 500 calories a session. I was like, oh, wow, because I've worn my Fitbit. I'm like,
yes.
And you're having fun. That's the best part.
You're having so much fun. Yes.
And I love that you're integrating your passion, which would you say Zumba is one of your passions?
For sure. Yes.
And aviation, which is really cool because the perception is like, oh, if I'm a flight attendant, I don't have, time for anything else, or, that's going to take up all my time. But it seems like you have that work-life balance, which I'd like to briefly touch on. You have children and obviously a family, a spouse. How do you, manage, or how do they manage, you being gone and when you first started finding that balance?
Well, when I first started flying in Guam, we didn't have as many layovers as we do now, obviously. And Guam, you were kind of limited to your destinations. So it was easy raising kids, actually, to be honest, because we would call them turn flights, where I'd leave in the morning and I'm back by 3 p.m. So it's kind of like a regular 9-to-5 job. Eventually, when I moved to the mainland US, and started flying, it was a little bit more challenging, but thankfully, with family help, if I had to fly, like my sister would drop the kids to school and pick them up and I'd come home. I would usually do turns. And then as they got older in their teenage years, I was able to do layovers because, they have a busy life themselves. Teenagers, you probably don't see your teenage kids from about, I would say maybe 14, 15, and then until about 22.
Pretty much.
They're like doing their own thing. And you're like, okay, oh, is mom home? Oh, you're back? Where did you go? Did you even leave? Yeah.
My children are, my daughter's 19, my son's 24. So it's like, yeah, it's pretty much, yeah. Like, okay, you have these little creatures that are yours, but you see them occasionally.
I know. You just have to make sure they're fed and clothed and and that's about it.
Yeah. So it is possible for those, and I'm leading this into for those that are possibly interested in pursuing a career of being a flight attendant or a pilot or in general, what piece of advice would you give for those that are kind of concerned about that? Like, it's a big thing to leave your home and to be gone for so long. Is there anything that helped you along the way to kind of just stay like focused?
Well, no doubt having the support system at home,
Okay.
Because your family, your children are, your most valuable, people to you. And if I was concerned about, who I was leaving them with, for how long, I know I just wouldn't be productive in flying. I would be a nervous wreck. So to have the support of your partner, if you have family, if you're lucky enough to have close family around you that you entrust your children with, it can be done. But I think if you don't have that support system, it's definitely going to be a challenge with this career because, as you know, when you start flying, you're on reserve initially, meaning you're on call, you're on standby. You don't have a schedule right away. So you don't know if you're going to be gone for 5 days or, home for 2 weeks, and you just don't know your schedule. So that in itself is such a huge challenge. And, to have a babysitter and you really need to have that trust in whoever is going to be taking care of your family while you're away.
Okay. And what type of personality do you think you would have to be a flight attendant? I mean, obviously you have to, safety is a big component of it, attention to detail. I'm just putting it out there for those that are possibly interested. If you see this podcast and you want to become, in flight, what type of person do you think or personality you'd have to have?
Well, I think in-flight and training, especially, you'll hear the word flexible more than once, more than 10 times even, because that's the deal, especially like I just mentioned, being on standby, being on reserve, being on call. You never know where you're going, how long you're going to be gone for. If you come back for one day and then you're gone again for 5 days. So you have to be flexible. You really can't just take off and leave your dog at home for 6 days by itself. So you need to be flexible. You need to be organized with your matters at home to be taken care of if you're away. So those two are key: flexible, organized. A people person for sure, because of course you'll be trained during our initial training with safety matters, how to handle our doors on the airplane, how to evacuate, CPR, using the AED, first aid, all these things that are so vital and necessary to be a good flight attendant. And those skills, CPR, first aid, are great for using at home too, but definitely what people see the most is our customer service skills. Yeah. So definitely wear a smile, try to be as positive. Just remember, when you get on that plane, you're on until you get to your hotel room, until you take that uniform off. People are watching you, whether you realize like you're getting off your plane, you're getting into your crew van to get to the hotel.
You're always on camera.
Always on camera. Literally, like with people in their phones.
Yeah.
So how you present yourself is how your audience will perceive you. So if you take yourself as a true professional, you take pride in your appearance, your uniform, and you smile, you're sincere, you're friendly, and you genuinely care, then you'll do fine. You'll do just fine. I have no doubt.
Okay, great. So you could be a flight attendant too if you want to, or even in flight or pilot or whatever, as long as you're flexible, it sounds like, and you're organized, which I am not organized.
Organized helps. It definitely helps. Because I know some people I know are all over the place, and I said, well, how does that system work for you? But it does.
It totally works. Like, I operate well under chaos. So that's why I love the operation. Okay, let's see where this adventure is going to take me. Speaking of adventures, is there one place that I guess we fly to, or in general, or that you absolutely love, that's a go-to, or any inside tips that you can give our viewers?
Okay. I would say one of my favorite layovers is Edinburgh, Scotland.
Okay.
And I'd have to say that because it's just one of those places. And I think it has to do a lot with where our layover hotel is. And it's located on the Royal Mile. And so at the top of the mile, there's a beautiful castle, Edinburgh Castle. So when you walk out, that was kind of the inspiration for J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter in her series. So you just feel like you're taken away to this magical place. At least that's how I feel. And, with a castle nearby, and it just feels so surreal that that you're somewhere else. It's really cool. And of course, all the different paradise destinations that we fly to, like Tahiti, all the different, islands in Hawaii, when you need that tropical getaway.
It's just such a long trip. Like, I'm like, okay, staying in a plane for that long. Do you have any suggestions on, like, okay, for those that like me, day trips? I'm all about day trips, overnights, like a short, okay, I want to just spur the moment, go somewhere.
Yeah.
Where would you go?
It's been a while, but Charleston, South Carolina is a really cool place. Very charming. Have you been there?
I think I've been to Charleston. Yeah, briefly. It's been a while though.
Yeah. And I think just, there's so many cities, obviously like New York City that we fly into Newark, JFK, to explore. Let's see, just my base in itself, San Francisco, San Diego, one of my top favorite places on the planet. There's so much to see within the continental US. And then obviously in Europe and Asia and everywhere else we fly to. Yeah. There's just so much to explore.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless. Or people are itching to travel. Where can they go? But thank you for answering that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know each, country has its own protocol, COVID protocol in place.
Right.
Whether you're pre-testing, you test there 72 hours before, whatever it is, make sure you do your homework. Yeah. I think the United app is a great resource for information. I think we have the best app out there as far as airlines. I mean, there's so much information that you didn't even know you needed is on the United app. So bravo to our team who does that.
They do an amazing job. I was like, I didn't know I could find this. Exploring stuff. So they do a great job.
Absolutely. And they're constantly innovating. I remember just recently when I was, non-revving, taking a personal trip, and I had not realized that once they clear the standbys, you get a notification on the app saying you've got a seat. I thought, oh my gosh,
I didn't have to wait. Travel has come a long way since the 80s.
For sure. Okay.
It's really, really cool. Thank you for talking to me. We're getting to the end of our interview, but I just wanted to ask you one last question. I know you do some online Zumba for those that don't live near you. How can people find or sign up for your classes? I don't know if it's closed or open, or even just learn more about you.
Yeah, so right now I'm taking a hiatus just because of the holidays and me going back to regular flying in December. So January 2022, I'm looking to do virtual classes again, maybe once or twice a week. So I post about my classes on my Instagram channel at 1happyfitflygirl. You can find me there. Also, my website, carolynmcglynn.zumba.com is where all my information for Zumba is posted.
Okay. And that would be a great New Year's resolution for those of you that are listening. I'm going to post this after the holidays. Get ahead of those New Year's resolutions, because that weight can sneak up on you. And it's not even about weight. It's about fitness, mind, body, soul.
Exactly. And, the beauty of doing a virtual class is really nobody's watching you. So, you can turn your camera off. I won't, come say hi to me in the beginning, but you can turn it off. Now, I don't want you to sit there on your couch and watch me, but, but you can really try to follow the moves at your pace and not be so worried. And when you feel comfortable, turn that camera on and dance with me and the other students. Yeah, for sure. It's so liberating. It's just, it's freedom, it's expression. It'll be your happy place too.
We all could be happy fit girls. Not girls.
One happy fit crew. That's what we'll be.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Carolyn, for joining us on the Wonder Women of Aviation. Thank you for those that are listening. Make sure to follow her you have a YouTube as well, right?
I do. I'm not so current on that. I think I'm most active on Instagram.
Okay. So make sure that you follow Instagram. I'm going to put the handle here. And join us next time on the Wonder Women of Aviation. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Natalia. I appreciate it.
Each episode, we meet with women, both in and out of the cockpit, to talk about their passions, experiences, the history of aviation, and how they make an impact. Thanks for listening.